Hi, and welcome everybody to another edition of the Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. My name is Ross Benjamin of rbwins.com. It's Monday, September the 5th, and like every Monday going forward throughout the football season, I'll be joined by Mr. Doug Upstone of docsports.com, who's last week went 2-0 with his free picks. I went 3-1 with my free picks on this channel, so it was a good week for the good guys, Doug.
Yes, it was. Hey, always glad to be able to do that. I believe you also did quite well on your premium picks. I didn't do as well. Week one is always full of surprises. So, you take the good with the bad on those types of things. But hey, let the folks know how you did on your college football picks.
Well, it went 4-2. Could have easily been a 5-1 if App State would have came through. But what a game that was, huh, Doug?
Oh.
I mean, listen, you score 61 points. I had him on the money line at minus 125. You score 61 points, including 40 points scored they had in the fourth quarter, and you lose the game.
That's unusual. The other aspect that was crazy, besides everything you're just talking about, is the fact that the total on the game was 57, the closing total, and they scored 62 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, exactly. I thought you were going to say both teams went over the total by themselves, but
that's also true.
That's
Obviously,
incredible.
yes.
I mean, the end of that game, the final minute and a half or so was just crazy. I mean, the guy from North Carolina returns that onside kick for a touchdown, and it actually gave me a chance. And then App State gets the ball back with 29 seconds to go, no timeouts, need to go 75 yards, and lo and behold, they score on the last play of the game to tie the game. No, they fell behind by 2.
They were down 2 then.
And then they missed a 2-point conversion, which they also missed a 2-point conversion with less than 2 minutes to play. So, hey, it is what it is. Concentrate on the winners, 4-2. And Doug, you said you didn't have that great a week with your premium place.
No. The things I missed on. It's in particular missed on San Diego State. I thought at home, fired up in their new stadium.
Yeah.
Good situation. Arizona wasn't, is not supposed to be that good. To Arizona's as well. Anyway, so they literally came out flat and they did nothing the entire game. Shocking to me. But Arizona. Back Delora, and he actually looked pretty good. I mean, they ran a lot of routes, in some cases similar to what they ran at Washington State. And their coach Jed Fish at Arizona is has good pedigree. He's certainly not a bad coach. And I mean, they were the more prepared team. And so but that's what you get with week ones a lot of time. Just you could run into those. So hey, you know what? Like I say, I obviously not happy about it, but I'm not going to sweat it. It's week one. Okay, so exactly. I went 2-0 and looking forward to this upcoming week. And besides that game, the Notre Dame and Ohio State game was pretty surprising, I thought too.
Yeah, Notre Dame actually led that game 10-7 at the half. End up losing 21-10. Boy, oh boy, if you're a Notre Dame fan and you would have been told ahead of time you were going to hold Ohio State to 21 points, I would have liked their chances if you're a Notre Dame fan. But, hey, they covered the 17-point spread, Doug. But, a lot to be desired offensively for Notre Dame.
Yeah. I mean, on Twitter on Sunday, Tommy Rees, the offensive coordinator, was just getting crucified, on there. In watching the game, I mean, there's number of ways you want to look at it, is that, I thought the game plan essentially was to, once they were close, was to just try and keep it going. Okay. Tries to hit some big plays, do some different things. But Ohio State's defense already showed, with Jim Knowles there, he's changed some things around. They look a lot better. And the fact that if Notre Dame would have opened it up, especially when they got down 14-10, well, you don't know about turnovers. And all of a sudden they could be behind by 20. For those types of things. The biggest thing about the two teams, Ohio State is 14 5-star recruits that right now. Notre Dame has 2.
Yeah.
So the difference in talent was obvious, and even more so at the quarterback position.
Yeah.
A truly elite program. I mean, they're amongst the top 10 for sure anyways, but if they're going to be an elite program, they got to get a quarterback who is an elite quarterback. That's how that's going to happen.
That's the problem with Notre Dame. I mean, going back even over the last decade or two, they haven't had that top-notch quarterback. When was the last time they had a good quarterback, Doug?
I'd have to literally look at the rosters over the last last couple of decades.
That tells you, what's that tell you? They haven't had an elite quarterback. So I mean, otherwise, guys.
Yeah, well, it kind of goes hand in hand, though. Is that you also have to have how do you attract an elite quarterback? By having wide receivers, okay, yeah. Elite wide receivers, and they have not had many, okay, over the last at least 10 to 15 years. I'm trying to think of the guy that's been injured all the time now. He's on his 4th different team. Did he start with Pittsburgh originally? I mean, they just haven't had a lot of really great receivers. And so
I know one thing
today, of course, besides now making money when they're playing college football, they also want to have a pathway if they believe their talent is good enough to get to the NFL. And that's only going to happen if those two things match up. You have the quarterbacks and you have the wide receiver.
Yeah, receiver. They attract a lot of elite offensive linemen. There's no two ways about that. And their offensive line looks to be pretty good this year. But the quarterback situation, nothing against the kid, but he just looks like another carbon copy of what they've been throwing at us over the years. He has a little more mobility than Jake Cohn, but you want that guy. To me, Doug, if I'm a recruiter, I want a dual threat quarterback in the modern day of college football, even the NFL. I mean, look at the guys that are succeeding at the NFL level. Yes, Aaron Rodgers could take off and move the chains on 3rd down on occasion. But, some of the top quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes, mobile, keeps plays alive with his legs. Josh Allen, the same thing. Kyler Murray. I mean, the list goes on and on, yet Notre Dame continues to get these drop-back, old-style quarterbacks, and it's not like they have an elite arm either. So, anyway, any other thoughts or observations you saw?
Yeah, well, it just, I mean, I guess there's not much doubt that Georgia, I mean, who knows what they'll do going forward, but they're not rebuilding.
No.
That was mighty impressive. I mean, it was like they did not miss one drafted, okay, in the NFL. It was remarkable. And you just have to wonder now, is Georgia at Alabama's level? You know what? They might be.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Alabama's going to have I don't know about a stern test, because they went from a 17-point favorite to a 20-point favorite fairly quickly. But they're going to be at Texas this week. And I'm sure that Texas is going to give them a harder time than Utah State did. And on the road as opposed to at home. So we'll see how good Alabama is this coming week. And Georgia, I had Georgia as a free pick with me and you last Thursday. But like I said, I can't take any team serious that thinks they're going to win a conference championship or a national title with a quarterback the caliber of Bo Nix. I mean, I hate to pick on the kid. He's not that good. You know what I mean? He really isn't. So anyway, Doug, we got a couple free college football picks in store here. Both games go on Saturday. I'll let you kick it off.
Yes, indeed. Well, and I like the play on words, by the way, too, from that standpoint. But Tennessee is facing Pittsburgh, going into the Steel City, or at least formerly known as Steel City. Both teams are coming off victories, though. Tennessee's was a lot easier facing Ball State compared to the Panthers playing a rivalry game, or a long-awaited rivalry game against West Virginia. Now, both offenses look good. Okay, Pittsburgh had a couple of things that made them a little shaky. Gave up 190 yards rushing, was supposedly an outstanding defensive line. So that was a little bit surprising from that standpoint. And Tennessee's, offense likes to go, Ross. I mean, Josh Heupel, the coach, likes to play fast. And from that standpoint, they like to get that running game going to set up the pass, from that standpoint. So there's a number of things. Now, one of the things that came about, though, when I first looked at the spread, and I'm assuming this caused a lot of conjecture in a lot of areas, points. Okay. And I think a lot of people are probably surprised by that, including myself. Not crazy, but on Monday afternoon, that was bumped up to -7. So that means, for example, and this is just just an example, if they were playing in a bowl game this weekend at a neutral field, Tennessee would be a 10 or 11 point favorite. Yeah. That's interesting to think about. But when you consider the differences, what seem to be between the two conferences, okay, right now, I mean, the SEC versus the ACC, especially with what number of things we saw from the ACC this past weekend, viable, to that end. Now, Pittsburgh last year, they went to Knoxville. They won 41-34 as 3.5-point road favorites. That was primarily, though, because they had a 3-0 turnover margin. Okay. Now, forget conference affiliations and any of that stuff. One thing, and this is kind of, I'm taking somewhat of a page out of the Ross Benjamin playbook here. And I'm going to throw out the fact that last year, as I said, Pittsburgh was a 3.5-point road favorite. And now, 1 year later, they're a 7-point home under. Really, are they really that much different from a year ago? Is it that dramatic of a difference? I don't really think so. I like what I saw from Kedon Slovis. He looked really good at quarterback, I thought. Is he the best quarterback in the country? No, but I think he's a good quarterback. So in this one, Ross, I think Tennessee comes away with a victory, but I think it's going to be a lot harder earned. And I think that they win by 3 or 4 points in this one. And I'm not going to overlook the fact that Tennessee is 0-6 off a home win by 17 or more points with the points at home this week.
So Doug Upstone likes the Pittsburgh Panthers plus the 7 at home over the Tennessee Volunteers. And I, for one, am not going to disagree with him. Not because he's my friend, not because he's my cohort here on the show, but because I truly believe he's on the right side. I mean, I agree with you. Kedon Slovis, you could do a lot. He's not the best quarterback in the country. But you know what? Remember, this kid was a 5-star coming out of high school when he went to USC. And lost his starting job when he got hurt early in the year last year. So I do think you have to take into consideration, too, that Pitt played West Virginia last week. Now, West Virginia is notoriously a bad road team over the last couple of years under Dana Holgorsen. But by the same token, that was a renewed rivalry. So, that game, like they say, throw the records out the window, Doug, and I think that was a perfect example of such. And Pittsburgh, quite frankly, was lucky to win the game, picking that pass off with about 2 minutes to play and returning it for a score.
Yep.
So, all good points, Doug. So I'm going to agree with you on that one. Pittsburgh plus the 7 over Tennessee under home field, Heinz Field in Pittsburgh. I'm going to look at the Baylor and BYU game. That game goes on Saturday as well, 10:15 p.m. Eastern time. Late start, folks. BYU right now is a 3-point home favorite. Baylor's coming off a 69-10 win over Albany. Now, let's not get misled by that final score because Albany plays at the FCS level, in addition to the fact that Albany's not a very good FCS team, even at their own level. So I'm not making light of Baylor's accomplishments in that game, but you can't get caught up and misled by that final score because of the level of competition they faced. Now, I'm a big proponent on looking at what teams got coming back from the year before, and then also we have to account for the transfer portal. But having said that, Baylor does have 12 returning starters from last season. However, there's another part of the equation, not only returning starters, but the productivity of the returning starters you got coming back. And when that equation is met, Baylor ranks number 92 in the country. Conversely, BYU returns 19 starters from an 11 or a 10-3 team a season ago. And as opposed to Baylor's number 92 ranking in returning productivity, BYU's at number 2. And let's not forget, BYU also will be playing in their home opener after beginning the season last week with an impressive win over South Florida, 50-21. They covered that game as an 11-point favorite. Look, South Florida is not a great team out of the AAC. However, they are an FBS opponent. BYU went on the road and not only won and covered, but did so handily, and they outgained the Bulls in that game, 573-279. And I just think the experience of BYU and also playing with revenge, as they lost at Baylor last year, 38-24, and couple that with the fact not only the revenge, but 19 returning starters who played in that game, and that was one of only 3 losses BYU suffered a season ago. I'm going to go with the BYU Cougars here, Doug, -3 over Baylor.
I agree with you, Ross, on that one. The BYU was very impressive. I one of the things someplace I had a free pick on them last week. So I think this team's ready to go. And I love what their coach is doing and how he's altered the program right now. I think this is a team on the rise. Not that Baylor's bad, not saying that. I just think BYU is, like I said, I think they're going to be ready to step into the Big 12, no problem.
And again, a team that's rated higher in Baylor as a favorite on the road. But still, I think BYU is the better team in this matchup, but we'll see. Based on last week's results with me and Doug, I think you ought to follow our lead, folks. So, and somebody gave me a hard time last week, Doug. You imagine that?
Because I'm stunned.
Yeah, a guy says I have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. None of us know what we're talking about. By the way, we're about 67% right now over the last 3 weeks between all the handicappers on the Winner Circles podcast. And he gave me a hard time about me taking Old Dominion over Virginia Tech. Also gave me a hard time about me taking Syracuse over Louisville. How did I do? Outright underdog winners, Doug. So hey, it comes with the territory, right, buddy?
That's for sure. That's
All
for
right.
sure.
Tell the folks out there how they can find you, Doug, what you got coming up, how you've been doing, any hot streaks you have of late.
Yes, Ross, I'm at Doc Sports. So it's Doug Upstone at Doc Sports. College football, didn't have my best week, but that's okay. Like I said, I'm ready for this upcoming week. I've already done some research on, on several games and likes a couple of options already there. NFL starts this week, so looking forward to that big time on that one. As I said, kind of with college football, I don't go running into the NFL. I, tend to maybe probably have 3 plays this week, but last year coming off a 45-31 season, 3rd straight winning year in a row in the NFL. So, again, exactly, Ross, but it's just kind of turned into my thing. I've done well in the NFL for a number of years, so excited about that. And Major League Baseball on a 5-0 run as we speak today. And I hit a number of big plays, 8 out of the last 10. So season's coming to an end, but I'm trying to really finish with a flourish on this thing. So let's just see if I can keep it going. Ross, tell the folks what you got going.
Thank you, Doug. I went 4-2 last week in college football, like I alluded to. I don't have a pick for Monday night's game and with the Clemson Georgia Tech game. Did cash in with Florida State last night as a 4-point underdog. So that was a nice winner over LSU. And it's been a good run in college football, Doug, going back to last year, 42-29 with my last 71 in college football. That's around between 59 and 60%, folks. And Doug will tell you, if you can hit that percentage all the time, you're doing awfully well. So again, remember this, the sharpest bettors in the country, in the world, lose 40% of the time. All right. So that's the reality of it all. So before any one of you try to tell us you could hit 60% on your own, maybe over a couple weeks, maybe over a 3 or 4 week period of time. But over the course of the year, folks, when you do this every day, you know darn well that hitting 60% is a good win percentage. And we've been right in that area all the while. Anyway, Doug, until Thursday, we'll be back talking NFL. We'll have a couple free picks in the NFL on Thursday. I'll be back tomorrow with Sean Higgs, Wednesday with Big Al McMorty, Thursday with Doug, and Friday with Jesse Schultz. Great week coming up, folks. Week 2 to college football season and the opening week of the NFL. We've been winning at a torrid rate here over the last few weeks. You want to follow us? You can find me at rbwins.com. That's rbwins.com. That's where you find all my premium paid selections. And Doug at docsports.com. For Doug Upstone and Ross Benjamin, I'd like to wish each and every one of you all the very best. Good luck and God bless, folks.